and welcome to my end of year wrap up for 2022. Part of the reason why I like making these wrap up videos for the year is because I listen to a lot of music in a year, whether it's music that's been newly released or music from the past that I just discovered in 2022 or whatever year it is. It is fun for me to look back at each year in music and like, what was I doing at that point in my life? Why was I listening to it? What music was I drawn to at the time? I'm going to do the same structure as last year if you watched my video last year, which is I'm first going to run through a few of my favorite albums that were released in 2022. Then I'm going to do a few of my favorite songs, and then the oldies but goodies section, the things that I discovered through the year that weren't released this year, but just happened to be the year that I ended up listening to it for the first time. I'm going to do my best to not go into deep descriptions because a lot of this stuff, I do have videos associated with them. So anything that I have a video associated with, I will do my best to include links and cards or whatever as the video is going on. So that way, if you want to see me talk more in detail about any of this stuff, you can check out those videos. Okay, so first let's talk about the albums. I feel like this year I really did listen to a lot of newly released music. So it made creating this wrap up very difficult because, and I probably say this every year, but there was a lot of good music this year and a lot of music from different genres too that I found myself being drawn to. These are not ranked in order of how much I love them. There's the thing, there's going to be albums missing from here that I did really enjoy or like appreciate the art of the album, but these are the albums that I actually have been as like casual listener listening to on repeat for myself. And the first one, 100% Dawn FM by The Weeknd. What a strong start to 2022. That album is such a great sonic piece. I love the theme. I love the cohesiveness. And I was so excited to hear it. And I honestly think it might be my favorite album from The Weeknd. And I don't know if everyone would agree with me on that, but it is like such in a zone sonically that I adore that that album can do no wrong. I really, really love that album so much. Another album that I have found myself listening to a lot that I feel like some people feel one way or the other about is Kendrick Lamar's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And I think what I really appreciated about this album was the vulnerability of Kendrick talking about his life currently. And he also had some lyrics in there saying things that maybe surprised some people. Like he was just being so bluntly honest about like his thoughts on everything in the state of the world. But he did it in a way where he wasn't saying like, I know all the answers, and he wasn't necessarily like preaching, but he more so was just observing and acknowledging how he felt while also dealing with his own mental struggles and kind of saying the opposite, like kind of telling people like, don't look to me for the answers, like look to yourselves and work on yourselves. And I just really appreciated not only the production, but lyrically, I just appreciated how bluntly honest and vulnerable he was being. This is an album by a group that I actually only pretty recently listened to it, and I just pretty recently posted the video, but it's left that much of an impact on me. And that is the 1975's Being Funny in a Foreign Language. First of all, this is my first album and only album I have ever listened to by the 1975, but I love this album. I knew while I was listening to it for the first time that it was one of my favorite albums of the year because from what I have seen in my comments, I do feel like a lot of fans of the 1975 have said that this is their best work. I just love all of the beautiful like band elements, the production elements. There were certain touches happening throughout each song, like kind of tying it all together musically. And yeah, it's just a really solid, great like alt pop rock kind of album. If you're interested in listening to something that's just like filled with a bunch of beauty musically, instrument wise, I would give it a listen. Okay, this one, another no-brainer for me, Beyonce's Renaissance. I absolutely adore this album. I love the sonic zone she is in. This whole like club, 90s club vibes. Not only are her vocals great, it's Beyonce, we all know that, but I just felt like the fact that she stuck with one musical like theme the whole time was pretty different. I mean, it was very different from Lemonade, 100%, and it worked so well. I just feel like she owned it. I have listened to so many songs over and over and over from that album. Cuff It, Cozy, Virgo's Groove, literally Break My Soul, so many songs from there I just love so much. Speaking of pop, now this is more of a genre mix. I just love Rina Sawayama so much, and I really enjoyed her album Hold the Girl. I really did. Hold the Girl, I think her album, I also talked about her in my last wrap up because I discovered her first album Sawayama in 2021, and I just love Rina Sawayama. So it's not a surprise to me that I really enjoyed this new album, Hold the Girl. Lyrically, very vulnerable. She still had fun mixing genres, very pop at times, a bit more pop rock at times, adding some just various elements and genres into her music that makes it very much so her own vibe. And I appreciate her artistry and her vocal ability so much. Lastly, a very rogue one for me because I don't normally make too many videos with this genre, but Mitski's Laurel Hell was on my playlist a lot this year. I really enjoyed it. And once again, this was my first album I had listened to from Mitski, and I have a strong feeling based off things I have read or heard. This album was a different vibe for her. She brought a lot of fun to the music, regardless of what the lyrics were. The best way I can describe how the music sounds on a lot of those songs is a carnival. Like, it sounds like carnival music, but not in a tacky way. It gives me like theme park vibes, but once again, not in a bad way, like in the best possible way. I really should dig into some more of Mitski's music. I haven't yet because I just can't get over Laurel Hell. And now we're going to talk about singles. These are whether they were actually released as singles or just songs, individual songs that I have found myself listening to the most. I've got 10 and I'm going to run through them quick. So first up, The Loneliest Time by Carly Rae Jepsen. I heard this song over on Patreon. This was not on YouTube. And oh my gosh, I am obsessed with the disco, pop, everything of this track. Another one that I discovered over on Patreon. This one's by Omar Apollo, Evergreen. Oh my gosh, this song is gorgeous. It is like so sultry and just delicious. I was losing my mind when I first heard this song, and I have listened to it so many times. Next, we're going back to some pop vibes, and this is by Sabrina Carpenter, and it is called Read Your Mind. It's probably one of the more like up-tempo tracks from her album Emails I Can't Send, I believe is the name. And I just think this one is so fun. I love all the breathy vocals in it and the layering. It's got a good tempo and beat. It's just been so dang catchy, and I keep listening to it. We're going like the most opposite from Sabrina Carpenter now. 2 songs by JID. No, I did not forget about him. His album was so dense and great. I know I didn't list it in my top, but trust me, it's in my top 10. A wonderful album, but 2 songs from that album, The Forever Story, that I have listened to so much is Dance Now and Cody Blue 31. Dance Now is gritty. It is like, there is this like swagger to it. I love where his voice goes during it. Same with Cody Blue 31 in a totally different direction. He starts singing some on that track, and it's more emotional, and it's about perseverance, honestly. And it's a beautiful, beautiful moment on the album and a beautiful song on its own. Okay, these next 3 tracks are calling it my songs from South Korea section. Let's talk about the song Hype Boy by NewJeans. This is one of the catchiest pop songs I have heard in a very long time. It has a wonderful element of like early 2000s pop to it, which is probably why I felt so like inclined and drawn to it. NewJeans is a 5-person girl group from South Korea that just debuted this year, and they are young. I mean, their youngest member is only 14. But I tell you what, this song Hype Boy is just pure, catchy, beautifully crafted commercial pop. Now, this is from like the powerhouse of South Korea, which I am a huge fan of, BTS. They released a few singles this year. One song was called Run BTS, and it is like, I think, everything that fans had been waiting for. It is more of like a rock genre blend, rock hip hop genre blend song for BTS. It shows the more like hard side of the group. I love the different vibe for BTS, and when they finally did perform it live at their big Busan concert in October with the choreography, excellent choreography. And if you're someone that doesn't normally listen to BTS, I would give it a listen because it might surprise you. I think the vibe would surprise you, especially if you just know BTS from like Dynamite or Butter. You have no idea what you're in for if you listen to Run BTS. Now, the last one is from an individual member of BTS, and it is a newer song that was released, and it is from RM, but this song is called Wildflower, and it's beautiful. It feels very like daydreamy, mesmerizing, inspirational, and what I really love is that he has a very famous South Korean rock singer on the track. Her voice is gorgeous. Like, it is the perfect sort of power rock vocal for a chorus, and it matches up with this song so wonderfully. And I think RM was just very smart in picking a vocalist like that to complete this song. I feel like it's one that you could so easily hear play in America. I just don't know if it will because there are Korean lyrics in it. Lastly, this is the newest one I'm adding to the list because SZA's SOS has barely been out, and that is why I could not put it in my top albums yet, because it's like I need more time to listen to it. It's a wonderful album, and the song that I immediately was drawn to was Kill Bill. Wonderful vocal melody, wonderful like lyrics that are just so dark and gruesome, but sung over this very pretty vocal melody with this wonderful production and band situation happening. It's a really gorgeous track that if you were just listening to her vocal and listening to the music and not paying attention to the lyrics, you would have no idea how dark the song actually is. And I love that stark contrast. It's a great one. Okay, now we're on to the oldies but goodies. So I don't have quite as many oldies but goodies because I feel like I did spend a lot of time this year listening to music released within the year. But a few albums I visited properly for the first time this year that stuck out to me that I've been listening to a lot. Our first, we're taking it way back to, I believe, 2004. That is Green Day's American Idiot. Green Day's American Idiot. What a classic album. And I obviously knew singles from that album. Now, I forgot that I knew some of the singles until I started hearing them again. But I didn't realize how that album really was telling a complete story from like beginning to end. And I should have known that because there's a literal musical made out of this album, but it never clicked in my brain. I just think it's like one of the most probably like iconic albums easily in the 2000 to 2010 period. And I found myself after filming the video, listening to it fully. Like I have definitely been re-listening to that album. And the next album was another one that was so popular and it came out, and I did not give it due diligence. It totally slipped through the cracks. And that's Kacey Musgraves' Golden Hour. What's so funny about this is I actually probably have seen her perform most of these songs live, because back in 2017, when I think she was like kind of getting ready to release Golden Hour, she opened up for Harry Styles on tour, and I totally saw her perform. But I was not processing, I was not focused, which, like, bad on me, because that album is gorgeous. I think her tone of voice is so pretty, but also her lyrics are very descriptive and but easy to follow at the same time. And I just really appreciate the production too. I love the music arrangements on that album. Slow Burn is really such a gorgeous song. And then lastly, the last album that I discovered this year that really stuck with me was Solange's A Seat at the Table. What a beautiful R&B album. I just felt like that album was pure art when I was listening to it, and it just made me feel very emotional and very empathetic. And I found myself going back to it especially when I'm in like certain zones or want a certain mood. I just feel like it's a very beautiful album that's like worth your time to listen to. And then here are some songs from the past year I have discovered. First, let's talk about Juice WRLD, because I definitely have been listening to a lot of Juice WRLD, and there are a lot of songs that I have found myself going back to and listening to. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to pick one. And the one I'm picking, that I don't think it's actually like one of his most popular tracks, and it's from A Death Race for Love. It's called Hear Me Calling. And I think the reason why I like that is not only do I like the lyrics a lot and of course his delivery, but I really enjoy the production. It's a little bit of a different vibe and beat than what I was hearing on other Juice WRLD songs. I am like so moved by how much his music has impacted so many people. He just really was very truthful about his feelings and his mental state, relationships, his addictions. Like, it's all just very honest and raw. And I just applaud it so much. I just wanted to leave it at like one song for now, because I feel like I've barely scratched the surface yet. We Are by Jon Batiste. That's also the album title, but I'm talking about the song We Are. It's just a gorgeous piece of art, and it's very dramatic and beautiful. There's wonderful choirs. There's a marching band involved. It really took me away when I first heard it, and I love singing along to it. So please go check it out. There's some like wonderful jazz at the end of it too. It's very like free spirited and just a really welcoming and warm and inspirational song. This next one, I'm gonna censor myself for YouTube. Norman Effin Rockwell by Lana Del Rey. And once again, this is the song, not the album. What a gorgeous ballad. I've listened to it so much. It's got the beautiful strings that I associate with Lana Del Rey, but I also love that it's so like pulled back at times with just her voice and the piano. Okay, I did it. That's my 2022 wrap up. And what's crazy is there's still so much music I've missed from the year that I will probably be discovering in 2023. But this is how the year has panned out for me so far. I feel like it's been a really fun year in music. I feel like I've been going down a bunch of different genres, which I always love. And I'd love to see in the comments what some of your standout music from the past year has been, whether it's songs or albums. Let me know, because I want to know what everyone's been listening to this past year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until my next video, bye.